Okay, everybody, good morning, and thank you for joining us here today on the second day of WebEx 2024. My name is Justin Patterson, your MC for today. As you know, WebEx is one of the largest global conferences in Asia, held in Japan here for companies and individuals working to promote the Web3 sector. CoinPost, Japan's largest crypto asset and Web3 media company, has organized this two-day event here at the Prince Park Tower, Tokyo, for all of your enjoyment and information. The event will bring together and is bringing together major players, media representatives, and public visitors from Japan and abroad. さて皆様、大変長らくお待たせいたしました。本日は WebEx2024 にようこそお越しいただき誠にありがとうございました。私は本日の司会進行役のジャスティン・パターソンです。皆様どうぞよろしくお願いします。昨年も開催されましたこの WebEx ですけれども、Web3 分野推進に、動く企業や個人のための日本で開催されるアジア最大規模のグローバルカンファレンスとなっております。日本最大の暗号資産 Web3 メディアコインポストが主催して、日本国内外の主要プレイヤー、メディア、一般来場者が一堂に会する2日間にですね、ここで、ザ・プリンスパークタワー東京で、開催されております。プレゼンターにですね、ご講演いただく内容ですけれども、皆様のステップアップに役立つものばかりだと思いますので、ぜひ楽しみにしててください。ジェネラルチケットをお持ちの方は、すべてのセッションの、聴講が、可能となっておりますので、お気軽に、どのステージでも、どの内容でも、どの時間でもですね、ご参加いただけますので、ぜひぜひたくさん見て、書いていただければと思います。So the content of the presenter's lectures, I'm sure, would be very useful to everyone's learning. And if you have a general ticket, that you can attend any session at any time during the day. So please feel free to join us or any of the other halls here next to us. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our first talk session for today. まず、本日一つ目、最初の、トークセッションに参りたいと思います。そのタイトルですが、ビットコイン、レア2、ステーキングとアセット、というタイトルになっております。So our first session is titled Bitcoin, Layer 2, Staking and Assets. それでは早速ですが、登壇者をご紹介いたしましょう。Co-founder of Babylon, Fisher Yu. Founder and CEO of Nubit, Feng. Founder and CEO of Merlin Chain, Jeff Yin, and Investor Relations Lead at Stacks, Kyle Ellicott. So let's give him a big round of applause. 皆様大きな拍手でお迎えください。どうぞよろしくお願いします。All right, please be seated. Who's going to be our moderator on this one? Okay, so if you're ready to go, I'll just hand it over to you. All right, お願いします。
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Fisher. I'm the moderator of this panel discussion. Today we have three distinguished guests. They're very great. So maybe we can start with an introduction of yourself and your project. Starting from...
Good morning, everyone. My name is Yu Feng. I'm the founder and CEO at Nubit. I'm also a CS professor at University of California, Santa Barbara. And we started Nubit early this year. Basically, the mission of Nubit is to dramatically mitigate the storage as well as security limitations of the Bitcoin mainnet so that developer can easily build ecosystem on top of that. And since we launched, I think we have been growing extremely fast. By far, we have over 35 employees spreading around globally. And then we also finished several rounds of raise led by Polychain. And yeah, happy to share more about details about our project today.
Hello everyone, I'm Jeff, the founder of Merlin Chain. Merlin is a EVM compatible scaling solution for Bitcoin. Basically, we just have users bridge their Bitcoin layer 1 assets, no matter it's Bitcoin or ordinals or runes, to Merlin, and then we can have smart contracts, we can have DEX, we can have lending, we can have all kinds of functionalities on the layer 2. And we believe, having all these EVM functions will help the builders and users to, to adopt Bitcoin assets. And we launched our mainnet in February, and right now we have, lots of the apps. So we have about 2 billion trading volume for the spot, and also we have lots of other protocols, from Merlin Chain to other chains using like solve all these Bitcoin LRTs, and also we're working with Babylon and Nubit as well. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kyle. I'm with the Stacks ecosystem. For those that don't know, Stacks is one of the original Bitcoin layers or layer twos that originated back in 2019 and then later went to mainnet in 2021 and was the first to bring programmability and smart contracts to Bitcoin. So that a lot of what we're going to be discussing today and the movement we're seeing about building on Bitcoin was enabled and was possible years later. And very excited to be here and talk a little bit about what is and what is to come around the Bitcoin ecosystem.
Thank you so much, everyone. So I noticed that every project comes from a different angle for the Bitcoin ecosystem, like data availability layer, EVM execution, and stacks for security and staking. So maybe could you please extend a little bit on what problem of the Bitcoin ecosystem your project is trying to solve, or what contribution you try to make for the Bitcoin ecosystem? Yeah. Again, from you, yeah. Next time you will start from Cal.
Okay. So yeah, let me get started. So for those of you who are not familiar with Bitcoin, like how it works. So basically, let me just bring one data. Basically, Bitcoin you can think of like any other blockchain is like a distributed ledger, and the problem similar to like your favorite like a bank network such as Visa, Mastercard, etc. But the difference is that the default Bitcoin mainnet can only handle 4 transactions per second. And what's the number in Visa? So the number of Visa network, they can easily handle 25,000 transactions per second. So which means that when you compare those two numbers, so it's going to be very difficult to believe that the entire ecosystem is going to thrive with this like pool, like a bottleneck regarding the data throughput. So that's also one of the initial motivation that we started Nubit as well. Basically, you can think of what Nubit does. You can think of it like a bus or railway to, let's say, the Tokyo downtown, right? Let's say during the rush hour, if I want to go to office, and there's no way that everybody can drive to the Tokyo downtown because there's just too many traffic. So in this case, you can think of what Nubit does is a side chain that helps the Bitcoin mainnet to dramatically offload those data requirements. So when the upstream application making transactions, you can think of, instead of directly putting those transactions onto the Bitcoin mainnet, they can basically store on the Nubit sidechain. And the problem is that how are the developer or people can trust us, right? Because the original reason that people want to store on the Bitcoin mainnet is because they trust Bitcoin in terms of decentralization, as well as economic security and the censorship resistance, etc. So that's why, like, the only way that people can trust us to store their data on Nubit instead of like a Bitcoin mainnet is we can achieve similar degree of decentralization as well as censorship resistance. And thanks to Fisher's Babylon, so basically, which basically turned the original static access, which is sleeping on the original Bitcoin mainnet, into like a more powerful access that can be used to ensure the economic security of upstream application ecosystem, including Nubit. And yeah, that's.
Yeah, thanks. Jeff?
Yeah, I just see they add like another 5 minutes to our panel, so they must love us. Yeah, I think Merlin solves different kinds of problems. I believe I'll probably be the only guy here who actually, trades ruins or BRC20. I don't think you guys do the memes. Do you do the memes? No. Okay. So basically, we didn't have the idea of Merlin, until like last December. So because we were building on Bitcoin Layer 1, we do lots of, on-chain games, on-chain like assets launching. But we found there's so many problems with trading on Bitcoin Layer 1. You don't have the smart contract, so you have to list. So majority of the users, they mint all kinds of BRC20 ruins, but they just cannot have the liquidity because when you mint this asset, you have to list them. So sometimes when you list them, you find out there's nobody buying that. So you can see 99% of these assets just have zero liquidity. And because you don't have smart contracts, so you cannot have any kinds of interoperability between all these assets. And we find these problems on layer 1 as users. So we figure like why don't we just create like a EVM chain that's supporting all these kinds of assets? So that is like when Merlin had this idea, and we're trying to build this. And right now you can see we are focused on two separate of user needs. One, is staking, restaking, all these DeFi users needs. But another part is still about the retail users, everyday trading. Trading NFT, trading BRC20, trading ruins. I think the reason, if you check like DeFi Llama or like the app radar, you can see all this trading volume on the DEX. It shows even though the market is so cold right now, the users are still willing to trade all these retail assets. So yeah, I think that is the problem Merlin trying to solve. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Yeah, and from the Stacks perspective, just to add on to that, I think we fit in that same picture and continue to focus on the vision of bringing programmability to Bitcoin and also utility to Bitcoin as well. Because while it's very exciting to think about how can we build more on or with Bitcoin, we also want to find ways to make Bitcoin as an asset and as network usable. And from the asset perspective, being able to take your BTC from the L1 into the application layer and be able to either contribute on the DeFi side, purchase NFTs, RWAs, whatever it may be, we need that connection point. All three of us, and also yourselves as Babylon, we're all working towards that, and that's a big vision that Stacks had and is continuing to push forward as well. And also to push the bounds of what's possible when building on Bitcoin as well. Not just from a secure perspective, but also a speed perspective as well. We just had, as of last night, the Nakamoto upgrade, which is our largest upgrade to the network in 3 years since our mainnet, but also a big upgrade for the entire Bitcoin ecosystem as a whole that took block times from 10 plus minutes and making that come down to about 5 seconds, resetting the bar as to what we expect to see as an ecosystem to do transactions when it comes to Bitcoin as well. And then back to usability that we're all focused on, and that DeFi side is opening up the world of how do we take, again, BTC from the L1 into the application layer and creating that seamless process so that users can actually participate in DeFi staking at scale, not just institutions, but greater retail and consumers as well.
Okay, great, Jeff. Kel, thanks. So, yeah, audience, you may notice we have three guests here. They are new projects starting from early this year, and also very OG projects like Stack, right? So how do you feel about the Bitcoin ecosystem? So when you start your project and build and promote it, do you receive, what kind of feedback do you receive from the core developers, from the community? What excites you, or what kind of obstacles have you encountered? Do you think everything is good or bad?
I'll maybe give two different perspectives. So, as the network was founded back in 2017 and then again launched in mainnet in 2021, the ecosystem saw and was very excited about the idea of bringing programmability to Bitcoin and making Bitcoin usable. But as we quickly learned, a little bit too early. However, a lot of that necessary development, trial and error helped to create what we're all building for today as well. Another perspective I'll give is I ran our ecosystem fund for Stacks and have been investing in Bitcoin-based projects for 3 years, and was one of the largest investors across the entire industry until recently. And so what I got to see is the early introductions of DeFi, RWAs, social, gaming, NFTs, everything on Bitcoin. And that from 2021 to 2023 was super exciting. And then we had a short pause. And that was once ordinals hit, it was what else can be done? We've seen a lot of these categories that were successful in Ethereum come to Bitcoin, but there's so much more, and they're very different when applied to Bitcoin than they were in Ethereum or other ecosystems as well. Jeff mentioned memes and runes and BRC20. what that became in 2024 and what we're starting to see now heading into 2025 is very different than what we saw in Ethereum. And so as an investor and also as a builder and also a part of this ecosystem, what was the Bitcoin ecosystem was very early and very exciting to see that trial and error. What is to become in this new era of Bitcoin is very, very exciting. In the last 8 months, the ecosystem has almost 8x'd in size. It's gone from about 300 million in TVL to over $2.5 billion in TVL. It went from a handful of layers to well over 80 different layers focused on everything of native to meta protocols to EVM, SVMs, the Solana, Move VMs with Move and the entire Move ecosystem, to then introduction of rollups and so much more. When we look back year and a half, I'll be generous, we didn't have the technical stack that we can talk about here on stage today publicly. A lot of that was being worked on privately. Today, we have the beginnings of a solid foundation and a technical stack where very soon everything from the infrastructure to the application layer will be in place so that at scale, a $1 trillion economy can actually exist. And we're still figuring out a lot of those pieces, but we're seeing the beginnings of all of that specific to Bitcoin, which is very, very exciting.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kel. Yeah, I totally agree with the trial, at least especially the trial and error part. Like we are like the pioneers in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Yeah, we set very good examples. Yeah, for everyone.
I'll give you a quick props too. Congratulations on the recent launch.
Thank you.
For yourself, you were very much a pioneer, and not to take away from the other panelists, but when we talk about pioneering, staking and stacking or staking in general didn't exist in the Bitcoin ecosystem, right? It came via Stacks and a few others introducing how we could see a Bitcoin stacking mechanism. Then we had the introduction of liquid staking. Then we had the introduction of many other networks introducing staking. And then thanks to you, Babylon and Fisher and team, we had the introduction of restaking. And now we're heading into this whole new era around, and thankfully pioneering it, of native staking. And how can we stake our BTC itself and get a yield in some capacity back on that? So you're absolutely right.
Thanks, Kel. Jeff?
Oh yeah, I think my first impression or my feeling about Bitcoin is, I think the good thing and bad thing are the same thing. That is, we don't have a God in Bitcoin. We don't have Vitalik in Bitcoin because like Satoshi's gone. So everything good about this is like there's nobody there telling you what to do, what not to do. Basically, you have any kinds of crazy idea. You can say, like I don't know, if you want to stake Bitcoin on Dodge or on Litecoin, I don't know. Like anything you want to do, you can do that. So any crazy, weird ideas you want to bring up, I mean, there will be some users to that. And also, you know, it's like very, very, you know, purely competitive. You know, it's fair. So there's no one like supporting this protocol, not that. So like, okay, I'm supporting Babylon, but not Stacks. Like nobody can do that because there's no like foundation, Ethereum foundation kind of thing. But the bad thing is, I think the whole ecosystem is not that united. You know, when you look at like Solana or when you look at Ethereum, their users, their community, their builders have this kind of, you know, when they're going up, you know, they are very united. But, you know, when you look at all these protocols, you know, the users of BRC20, they hate Runes. The users of Runes hate BRC20. You know, Lightning Network, EVM, sidechain, RGB. So there are like just like too many solutions. And also when we're looking at, you know, the restaking with Babylon, we have like all kinds of tickers, right? LBTC, SolBTC, UniBTC, like we have like 10, 20, 30 kinds of tickers, like MBTC, FBTC, WBTC. So for everyday users, they're just confused. You know, I mean, I ask all these users, they are saying like, I don't even know what is this MBTC, because on CoinGecko there's like 3 types of different, you know, ABTC. And what is ABTC? So I think the good thing and bad thing are the same. You know, it's so decentralized, it's so competitive. There's nobody there telling people what to do, what is right, what is wrong. But also it brings chaos. I mean, I personally love chaos. But you know, when the bull market comes, or you know, when the market is going up, if the builders are not united, if they're attacking each other, sometimes, you know, it's bad for the community as well.
Yeah, I like Jeff's comments. Just a small confession. I'm coming from the Ethereum community. So basically, my group in academia, we have been doing research in smart contract and blockchain security in the Ethereum ecosystem since 2017. And so nowadays, we are still like working on like Ethereum security related stuff. But the moment when we jump into the Bitcoin ecosystem, I think early this year, so it's very, very similar to what Jeff mentioned. It's like the difference is like when climbers identify America versus modern Japan. What do I mean by modern Japan? Modern Japan, Ethereum is like modern Japan, right? So basically you have this fancy stage, we can do the panel, we have air condition, we have fresh flower. And as a developer, there's very little thing you need to worry about. You just need to focus on build, right? You have smart contract solidity, you have very mature IDE. But when it comes to Bitcoin ecosystem, when we jump in early this year, we realized that everything is yet to be built. Right? So everything is yet to be. We don't have tooling complete programming languages, and then we don't have a mature storage system to mitigate the throughput, and then we don't have at that time. So the only restaking protocol that we have is through Babylon protocol. And nowadays, I think within the past 6 months, I think we already observed there was a huge like blow up in the entire ecosystem. Not only there was a whole bunch of liquid restaking protocol built on top of Babylon, we also see a tons of L2 solutions compared to like, let's say early this year, we only have Merlin and a few others. Now we have a whole bunch of L2 that the ecosystem can choose. And even at the lowest layers, so there was a lot of people, such as people from Stockware, they try to attack those very, very difficult problems, such as BVN, OPCAP, to basically fundamentally scaling the Bitcoin ecosystem. So which means that at this point, I would like to basically echo what Jeff just mentioned, in the sense that it's kind of the democracy, the price of democracy you have to pay. Basically, in this empire, there's no one is going to judge you, right? No one is going to judge you what you build and then how you're going to build, what chapter you're going to pick. Nobody is going to make a judge. You will be responsible for what you are supposed and what you are passionate about. And sometimes the downside is that sometimes the resources might not be spending on with the best like productivity, right? So because we don't have a centralized organizations in this ecosystem to tell us what to do and what not to do. So which means that it's going to be the entire ecosystem, and how it goes will be like very much depending on how well the performance of those pioneers projects such as Babylon, Merlin, and Stack, etc. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that point, and also Jeff's comment as well, the good, the bad. One of the things that we have as a good opportunity is we have the framework or the foundation that 7+ years of Ethereum and development in the EVM ecosystem gave to us. Some of the maybe net negative on that is we see a lot of copy and paste, is that we have to have the exact same things when we don't necessarily need to, right? Some developers and builders may think we do, but that's not necessarily true. The development stack for Bitcoin may be and is showing to be very different than that of Ethereum as well. The terminology, we've copy and pasted between the two ecosystems, and they are not the same as well. And so to the point is, no one's going to challenge you, but you also have to challenge yourself in that process and kind of create your own path as to why we need this particular piece of the infrastructure. Show it, prove it, and then all of a sudden we have it. And again, it's good we have that 7+ years of development to build on. It's also challenging us in ways that we're finding out new things and new places to build on as well.
Yeah, I think I completely agree. So basically, from my perspective, we are shifting from the phase of make it work to a phase of adapt it and make it perfect. So what do I mean by making it work is that at the very beginning, we don't have like that much of the choice in terms of the infrastructure at BTC. So that's why at the very beginning, the best way is to learn from the past, right? We try to reuse as many like existing solutions from EVM community or Cosmos community as much as possible. But once we get to that point, and then at that point, like the dev community have some kind of choices, we realize that there's a lot of special requirements that only happens in the Bitcoin ecosystem. So which means that I think for the next stage, it will be a point that whatever adjustment that the project can be adapted to, the fast and then the perfect will be win this cycle.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you so much. It's very deep thoughts regarding the Bitcoin ecosystem. So indeed, if we look back to the Ethereum ecosystem, it took the Ethereum ecosystem several years to try and error, to be chaotic, in some direction provided by Vitalik to reach its current status, settle on layer 2 solutions with data availability layers and with staking, of course. But and thanks to the Ethereum ecosystem, the Bitcoin ecosystem have learned how this thing should roughly be. So it's a very fast evolution of the Bitcoin ecosystem in the last two years, which is great. But we have also discussed about that. Yes, there's no one that pointing fingers or like lead the ecosystem. So my next question will be a little bit controversial. Then, as we know that the core Bitcoin core developers, they are currently quite silent, right? So my question would be, so have you ever interacted with the Bitcoin core developers? What's your impression on them? Do you want them to just stay quiet, or do you want them to speak up or be a little bit more open-minded? Maybe this time starting from Jeff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, the Ordinals people have mixed feelings about the Bitcoin core people, I guess, because like there's some guy saying, the Ordinals should be, burned, or like just like deleting Ordinals protocol from the Bitcoin blocks. I don't know. I mean, to me, I just don't think Bitcoin is that centralized. Any particular people or miner can change the network. But also like I'm more like a bottom up kind of guy. Like we were nobody last year. We were just trying to build something for free, for fun. We didn't even like think about making money or like doing a layer 2 for Bitcoin. But when you look at the Bitcoin core, I think last year they're like frightened by the ordinals. They think all these inscriptions, all these small UTXO will block the network, but it turns out it won't, because right now the gas fee is like 3, like 4. So I mean, Babylon blocked the network, so they should ban Babylon. But yeah, so I don't think they're afraid about that anymore. And I think right now the challenge is, will they will the whole community, will all these miners prove the idea of opcat, because there are lots of people out there saying about implementing opcat to the Bitcoin layer 1, so we can have some kinds of smart contracts or tooling complete mechanism on Bitcoin layer 1. Actually, I really want to ask Fisher, like if the opcat was on mainnet, will that like affect Babylon solutions or not?
I will not use the word affect. I think it will enhance the Babylon protocol to extend its usability.
Yeah, I'll add on to Jeff's comment. From my experience and also my opinion is the core developers from the Bitcoin side helped to get us to this point, right? Their ideas, their focus, their relentless monitoring of the network from a technical standpoint allowed it for 15 years to be stable and secure. It allowed it for us to have these types of conversations as to why we should and want to build on Bitcoin as well. There's an argument to be said that's why Bitcoin has continued to grow and lead by waves of any other ecosystem. So we have to give respect and also credibility to those core developers. That said, we also have a new rising set of developers that are looking a little bit more progressive as to what Jeff mentioned of how we can build and scale and put in things like smart contracts that are turning complete on the L1, to also introducing, whether it's opcat, opcodes, or just other progressions in the network. We need those types of things. If not, then this is just going to stay stable and secure, and we're not going to do much with it. And I think that there's a lot of that core developer group that sees the need for that, but also is very protective to make sure that, again, the network stays stable and secure. And for me, when I look at building on Bitcoin, that's what I want. But I also want the other side that will allow to be open to the idea of something like OpCat or other, again, technical upgrades as to why they're important, why they are necessary now or later, but then also to help me and the greater ecosystem ensure that they're rolled out on a good, timely manner, and also it's put into a place where it doesn't shut down the entire network as well. So yes, strong opinion and thankful for that. Now we're starting to see that change a little bit, but those who still are, again, thank you and credit back to you for making sure that this ecosystem and this network is still stable and secure.
Yeah, but I mean, like right now, are you pro or the OpCat? Like right now, do you want that to be on layer 1 or not? If you have to choose.
Yeah, I mean, if I have to choose, I do. I am still learning about it and still excited to see what its potential is. I want to see some upgrades to the network. I mean, SegWit and Taproot unlocked a lot for us. I mean, all four of us, pardon me. And so when the time is right, and again, it's been sound and tested, which is, as you and I have talked about before, one of my biggest things, then yes, I think that that's something that we're going to necessarily see for the Bitcoin core as well. If the Bitcoin core just, again, stays stable, we don't have any additional upgrades, it's on us and us alone. And we're going to be hit on limitations of what we can and can't do.
Yeah, I mean, personally, like I want the network to stay stable, as long as, they think it's the right timing to upgrade. So,
yeah, and that we both very much agree on. Doing it today is probably not a good decision. We have seen enough upgrades, we've seen enough launches that have pushed the bounds of what the L1 is capable of to the point of ordinals. I think, what was it, November, December last year after ordinals launched, network fees went up almost 300x. That is not something that is scalable or anybody wants to handle. So if we want this to be, something that handles more than 3,000 transactions in a given block, we need those types of upgrades. But at the same time, we need this to be done right, which, back to the point, and Jeff, you and I agree, is let's make sure this is stable. Let's make sure this is tested. Let's make sure this timing is right, and not try to break things as we build them.
So I don't have a first-hand experience of dealing with core developer at Bitcoins compared to Ethereum's. From my very limited understanding is that they're kind of on the two extreme, in the sense that I think so for Bitcoin core developer, they are more like working on the background, in the sense I set up the stage and then you guys can play as you will. And they're not going to set like too many standards, and they try to be a little bit conservative. For instance, one of the issues that we ran into is that we know that there was a whole bunch of BRC20 protocol, ordinal protocol, and then there was a lot of issues on the end user when it happens on the wallet, because of there's no very precise mathematical specification for those standards. So because there's no mathematical specifications, which means that when those vendor, especially those wallet vendor like OKX wallets, Unisat, they have their own interpretation, so which means that sometimes it actually often create confusion to the end user. I can understand that for core Bitcoin contributor, they might not be necessarily need to be involved on those and put their finger on those too much details. But in some very, very big decisions, like let's say OPCAP that Jeff just mentioned about, I think it would be nice if they can try to be a little bit proactive. So what do I mean by proactive is that, for instance, 2 years ago when the chance of ZK, zero knowledge proof, they just get started. Actually, at that time, before people tried to build application for ZK, both Vitali and Barry Whitehead, they actually approached me. They asked, so they feel that, hey, Professor, I feel that this technique is going to change the world in the next 2 years. But one biggest concern I'm worried about is that when this technique become widespread, I cannot have any guarantee in terms of security, because money and financial access is on the state. So I feel that that's the similar situation in OPCAP. So OPCAP will enable a whole bunch of computation power for sure. But the problem is that just like any other technique, like AI, right, it's a double-edged sword. And once you, on one side, you have to, you enjoy the computation power enhanced by OPCAP, but you also need to get prepared on the side effect that it can potentially bring in. For instance, once the OPCAP enable, and how are you going to anticipate those kind of security problems on the original stabilized Bitcoin mainnets? And then, but the question is that we cannot, because of some potential side effect, and then we will try to be conservative all the time, right? We reject everything. So in this case, I think it would be nice if the core contributor can try to be a little bit somewhere in the middle ground, in the sense that even though they don't need to get involved on everything, but for those fundamental, crucial decisions that is going to affect both the stability as well as the security and also the computation power of the entire ecosystem, it would be nice if they can add a little bit proactive. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Professor. Okay, indeed. So everyone talked about OPCAT. And I would like to do a very, very small survey with the audience here. So any of you know what OPCAT is about? Could you please raise your hand? OPCAT. Only 2 people. Okay, so yeah, maybe Professor, you can explain what OPCAT is. So, and you will be surprised by how simple OPCAT is and how conservative the Bitcoin core developer community is.
Yeah, basically, before, I would just try my best to illustrate in a way that general audience can understand. You can think of, without OPCAP, the default programming languages, i.e. Bitcoin script, is tooling incomplete. So what do I mean by tooling incomplete is that there is a very, very few limitation you can do, okay? So what do I mean by very, very limitation is that you cannot do loops, you cannot do recursion. So, and those are actually the most powerful programming construct in any kind of programming language. And what OPCAP does is that it's a small but magic opcode that allow you to basically concatenate 2 strings together. Okay, so so why is that so powerful by using the OPCAT to concatenate those strings? So which means that once you can concatenate together, so you have this powerful notion of composability. So when you have this kind of a powerful concept composability, you can basically compose multiple computation together into a more and more powerful computation. As a result, you can achieve a tooling completeness, which means that you can express similar or equivalent expressiveness like any other tooling complete programming language like EVM. I hope that I...
Yeah. That's a great answer. I was just thinking about OPCAT as just, an operation that concatenate 2 things, but you extended it a lot. Yeah, we don't have much time left. Maybe each one of our guests can give you 30 seconds conclusion remark on what's your wish for the Bitcoin ecosystem for the next 12 months. Maybe starting from Kel.
Yeah, I'll be the lucky one to go. So for me, looking ahead in the next 12 months, one of the things I'm very excited about, but also caution everyone here in terms of building or investing, is that we take our time with this process. When it comes to building on Bitcoin, when it comes to the technical stack that we are all contributing to, we have one shot to get this right. There is $1 trillion plus economy that is sitting on the other side of us enacting the idea of Bitcoin being usable. We have one opportunity to make sure that that is successful. When we start to have security issues, we start to have breaks, we start to have leakage of billions of dollars, we are going to have massive problems as an industry. If we want this truly to be the financial system, we want this to truly be a financial instrument in some capacity, then we need to look at that underlying infrastructure and the entire technical stack, everything from Bitcoin Core to the applications. And we need to make sure those things are sound, hardened, and secure pieces and layers of the technical stack so that we can get this right and right for a long time. And that doesn't mean that everything has to be done yesterday. That doesn't mean it has to be done tomorrow. We have time to build, and we should take that time seriously and make sure that things are stable, sound, and secure when doing so. Otherwise, I'm super excited about decentralized bridged assets, everything from SBTC at Stacks, ZBTC with Zeus, FBTC with Merlin, and also so many others that are coming to market that, again, allow your BTC, your Bitcoin, to be usable and come from the L1 into the application layer. I think it's incredibly exciting and happy to be a part and contributing, and also getting a chance to work with all of you here on stage in that effort as well.
I'm just happy to be here. Last year we cannot imagine we have all these kind of Bitcoin events. In Korea, in Japan, in Hong Kong. Last year nobody was talking about Bitcoin, but I think it's too early. So I still think right now it's very, very, very early stage. It's like Ethereum probably 2015, 2016 kind of thing. So I still think it's too early. So just have more builders to build together and bring fun, utilities, yields to the Bitcoin.
I think here's my closing remark. So as a computer scientist as well as entrepreneur, so I'm actually not too much worried about the technical as well as infrastructure aspect. For instance, a couple of years ago, we don't have L2, we don't have restaking. And then I'm pretty sure that we will get there some point, right? For instance, right now we have restaking from Babylon, we have liquid restaking from Lomba, Ronzo, and many others. We have a whole bunch of L2, and then we have a new smart contract programming languages. But what are we missing? What are the key elements that we are missing to make the entire ecosystem sustainable? We need consumer, right? We need consumer, because consumer is actually the top-down driving force that is going to make the entire ecosystem thrive. So which means that I would say, moving forward, now that we become a little bit more powerful in different projects, we are much mature and bigger than where we were a couple months and a couple years ago. I would say, in addition to pushing the boundary of technical innovations, we might also want to put ourselves in the shoes of consumers' perspective, and how we can actually enable the true rise of the consumers' demands from the very beginning. And that's actually the first mission that Nubit has been trying to pushing for. And then we will have quite a bit of update in the next few weeks. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for the great discussion. And thank you so much, our great audience, for staying with us.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Gentlemen, before you leave the stage, we'd like to get a quick group photo. So go ahead and stand up if we can get you to gather here at the front center stage. We'll get a quick photo. ここでちょっと写真を撮らせていただいてから、次のセッションに参りたいと思います。本当に素晴らしいステージでしたが、ありがとうございました。皆様改めて拍手お願いします。Thank you very much once again. ありがとうございました。Okay, we'll be moving on to our next session in just a moment. We're going to have a quick set change, and then we'll be moving on. ここでセットチェンジをちょっと挟ませていただいて、次のセッションに参りたいと思います。すぐに終わるかと思いますので少々お待ちください。